Immediate wrist pain relief so you can continue to work out. I'll share how to relieve pain, what exercises will strengthen your wrists, and teach you the vital concept of training for structural balance to reduce the load on your wrists. When I started calisthenics, I developed wrist pain here that was so bad that I couldn't put any weight on my hand. Fortunately, I've got world-class physical therapist friends who taught me exactly how to overcome this injury. And now I'm going to share the complete strategy with you. So sit down, buckle up, and get ready to fix those wrists. We'll start by teaching how to deload that area, because what we need to do is try to reduce the inflammation in the area, basically try to reduce the load on it. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually compress the radius and the ulnar together, which is going to deload all these little joints in the hand here. So we've got two types of wrapping tape here. You can just use the hardcore one if you want, but this one saves the hairs on your arm. So this one's like a stretchy type of fabric that's not very adhesive. So I'm going to place it just above the wrist joint. We're not going over the wrist joint here, we're going just above the wrist joint. And that's really just there to protect the hairs of my arms. Now, what I'm going to do with this next one is try and squeeze these two bones, the radius and ulnar, together as much as possible. So this one is very adhesive and it's very strong. It has absolutely no give to it at all. So I start by putting it on the upper inside part of my wrist. And then I'm going to pull really firmly together here. And then this one really matters. Now I'm going to pull those two bones together really firmly. And then I'm going to do the same again, pulling the two bones together firmly. Now, if you do this properly, it's going to feel like it's very, very tight. And especially when you put your hand into that position, it goes way tighter. So you just check your capillary refill by pressing firmly into the little finger to see so that it goes white, so all the blood comes out of your fingernail. And then when you let go, as long as the blood and the color comes back within 2 seconds, then you're fine. And so the idea now is that my radius and ulnar are being compressed together, and that can give you enough relief so that you can continue to train. Next, we're going to use parallettes like this to further deload the wrist, so that any exercise where your hands would normally go on the ground, because that's the painful position, is we're going to use parallettes. So push-ups, handstand, planche work, any kind of calisthenics work where your hand would normally go on the ground, use these whenever you can. Because of course there's going to be some things that you do where you won't be able to use parallettes. Like I practice flow and locomotion and things like that sometimes. I can't use parallettes for that. But for things like a planche work or scapular push-ups or handstands, anything where your hands are just fixed in place, use parallettes wherever you can, because that's going to deload it and allow you to continue to keep training. There aren't any exercises that you can do to strengthen muscles around this area, but we can strengthen the surrounding areas. You can use wrist flexion like this, where you're curling the dumbbells up, and that's strengthening the wrist flexors. And then you can also use wrist extension like this. So you always want to train opposing muscle systems and opposing movements in a joint, which is a part of structural balance training. I'm going to talk a bit more about that later. Next is wrist pronation and supination, and I like to use just a broom or a rake like this, because what it does is it allows you to choose how intense the exercise is based on how far away your hand is from the end of the object. So obviously that part being heavier, if my hand is further this way, then it makes it much harder. And all you're doing is, we're going to get the wrist in a straight line like that. So you don't want to have any kink in the wrist like this here that you can see. You want to keep a straight line from your wrist down your forearm. And then from here, keep your elbow by your side. And we're just going to go down relatively slow and then back up. So that's working pronation, or it's working the pronators. And then you can also do the opposing movement, which is going down this way and then coming back up, working the supinators. And we can also do radial and ulnar deviation. So for this one, you put your hand under your arm like this, so your arm is being supported. You get that same angle from the wrist, from the hand through the wrist to the arm. And then from here, we're going to come up like this and then back down, up like this and back down. And then for the ulnar deviation, we go behind us like this, and you work this way. So you're coming up and then back down and then up and back down. Wrist pain and injuries often signal a deeper issue, structural imbalance in the body. To overcome them, you need more than wrist-specific fixes. You must build strength, flexibility, and stability from head to toe. Without this balance, everyday movements or intense training can overload your wrists in ways that they aren't built to handle, leading to pain, strain, or worse. Structural balance training creates a resilient body by ensuring symmetry and harmony across muscle groups and joints. For your wrists, this means balancing the upper and lower body, stabilizing muscles with prime movers, and pairing strength with flexibility. Ignore this, and even strong wrists can buckle under misaligned stress, like a chain breaking in its weakest link. Take a common scenario. Tight shoulders or weak core muscles force your wrists to compensate during push-ups or lifting. Over time, this excessive load causes tendonitis or joint pain. Elite athletes like bodybuilders with wrecked joints from imbalance prove the cost of neglecting this principle. 4 pillars for wrist health. Left to right symmetry. Equal strength in both arms prevents one wrist from overworking. Try single arm rows or unilateral presses. Antagonistic muscle balance. Strong biceps need strong triceps to stabilize the elbow and wrist. Pair curls with tricep extensions. Stabilizers versus prime movers. Weak shoulder stabilizers like the rotator cuff or core muscles overburden wrists. Add external rotation and other rotator cuff works to your upper body strength training. Strength and flexibility. Stiff forearms or weak grip range invite injury. Use loaded stretches to build mobile, strong wrists. Why it works. Balanced bodies move efficiently, reducing wrist pain, preventing injury, and speeding recovery. If you're over the age of 30, then structural balance training isn't optional. It is essential if you want to continue to push your body without getting injuries. And I've got a great video that goes much deeper into it. So if you click or tap the screen there, you can check out that video. And if you want to work with me online and get your own custom structural balance training program plus online coaching, head over to unitygym.com.